Welcome back to the pop culture discussion. I am your host Robert, and today we are reviewing Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores on PS5. Aloy heads to Hollywood to hunt down a new threat and save the people who call it home. This is the DLC to Horizon Forbidden West that came out last year, and it is, unfortunately, only on PS5. Those people who still have PS4s and played the second Horizon game last year, unfortunately, you can't access this one. They have made this exclusive to the PS5. So if you end up getting a PS5, I definitely recommend looping back around and picking this DLC back up, because this is the absolute best Horizon has ever looked, with easily some of the most impressive and beautiful graphics on the PS5. This game just looks incredible. Especially the scenes where you're on a vehicle and you're traveling to a location and you get a wide look at the map and you can just move the camera around and look at everything and the characters and the world, and just absolutely spectacular. Horizon has never let me down when it comes to the graphics, and this DLC pushes all of that to new levels of excellence. There are some really cool set pieces here, a few levels that really stand out and you're like, wow, this is cool. This is why I love these games. And with all of the gadgets that Aloy got during the second Horizon game, with things like the grappling hook and the parachute, you can just cruise around these new areas and explore them to your heart's content. The story is way more mysterious and personal than I expected. It's almost like a detective story, which is really cool. I wasn't expecting this kind of story in this game. And the new characters that Aloy meet become way closer to her than I expected as well. So yeah, story-wise and character-wise, this DLC was way more important than I was expecting. There are some new robots put in this DLC and they are super challenging, but luckily we are given a handful of new skills and a couple of new weapons. One in particular is by far my favorite weapon in the Horizon series. Once I got this thing in this DLC, I didn't use anything else. This is all I was using. It's kind of just like a gun, which is kind of funny considering the Horizon franchise is known for archery, and then they give you a gun and you're like, oh yes, please. So yeah, just the way that it's used as well is very cinematic and it's very nice to look at. If you can line up your timing perfectly, it does an insane amount of damage and it is so much fun to use. The final boss battle is the biggest and most epic in the franchise yet. There is quite a little build up towards the final boss battle, and then when it finally happens, it is just jaw-dropping. I couldn't believe what I was playing. The scale of this boss fight is massive. It is so much fun. It starts off as kind of a stealthy build-up, gets to the big robot boss fight on an open beach, and then it escalates to a smaller, claustrophobic human boss fight. And yeah, it was like watching this crazy, epic, cinematic sci-fi movie, but you were in control. This needs to be experienced, not only for this incredible boss fight, but for the new area of the map and this amazing new weapon that you get in this DLC as well. I know I'm making it out like this DLC is perfect and one of the best things on the PS5. Yeah, it's one of the best things on the PS5, but it's not perfect. I got a couple little nitpicks here. Number one is the evil mustache twirling villain kind of feels a bit silly and out of place for this series that takes itself so seriously. Luckily, he's not really in it all that much, and it is a pretty decent performance. I like the guy who plays him, but yeah, he is very clearly a cartoony type villain, and this series for the most part is very serious, and he is so out of place for this. Some of the puzzles were a little annoying. I mean, that's just me though. I mean, I hate puzzles in video games. I max out at the Uncharted games. I love those games, but yeah, you get a game with more puzzles than that in it, and no thank you. And there was just a handful of puzzles in this where I just couldn't quite figure out where I was meant to go, what numbers I was meant to put into codes or whatever. There was a few traversal puzzles that were actually a lot of fun, and they were cool, but that's just me hating on puzzles, I think. It might not annoy literally anyone else, but it's like the older I get, the less patience I have for puzzles in video games. There's a new enemy type as well in this. It's basically just like a giant frog, and it jumps at you a lot. And don't get me wrong, it's very challenging and a lot of fun to fight, But when it jumps at you and it lands like directly in front or behind you, the camera just trips out. It's like the camera doesn't know whether to focus on you or to focus on the enemy. And then you end up being like, I can't even see what is happening right now. I don't know if that was just me and my PlayStation or if anyone else is having this issue when fighting this enemy. But yeah, I think the developers weren't quite sure where to put the camera when the enemy did that attack. And the enemy does that attack a lot. So as long as you can keep your distance when fighting this thing, you're not going to have that issue. But if you try and run in and slap it in the face, you're absolutely going to have this issue, which I did a couple of times. So that was annoying. I guess my final little nitpick as well is that the fact that this DLC, it's very short. If you're trying to power through it, you could probably get it done in a day. But at the end of the day, it's only $30. And for the amount of amazing content that is in this game, it is absolutely worth it. I know I said a few little nitpicks there, but this DLC is a 10 out of 10 for me. None of those nitpicks were really enough to kind of take points off. They were just little things that I was like, ugh, that's annoying. They didn't make me rage quit or hate on this DLC at all. I had an absolute blast playing this DLC from start till finish, and seeing my boy Lance Reddick back once more was an absolute delight. Horizon fans on the PS5, you are in for an awesome ride with this one. And like I said earlier, if you played it on PS4, as soon as you get a PS5, loop back around and play this DLC because it is 100% worth it. Thank you for watching my Horizon 2 DLC review, and I will catch you in my next one.